everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Hatice Ozen. I am head of developer relations at Groq. I have been there for around 4 years now, which in startup land is probably 12, honestly. Been through many lifetimes with Groq here. And as of a year and a half ago, we actually transformed into a brand new startup where we are now more leaning into open source and expanding rapidly all around the globe. So before I begin, I love to ask, how many of you have actually heard of Groq with a Q? Okay, a couple hands. Okay, that's amazing. Still. Yeah, huh?
They've all heard of us because they're here.
Oh, well, yeah, or something, they want to learn something new, you know? Maybe they haven't heard of us. How many of you from that crowd then have built with Groq API? Love it. Amazing. So, okay, for the rest of you, I will teach you all about it, and not in a salesy way. I will tell you why it matters to you. How many of you are engineers in the room? Technical? Okay, perfect. Great audience. Okay, so we are going to deep dive into how you can build a research agent in one API call. So as you all know, AI is the talk of the town, but we need to get to a point where we stop talking about AI and actually starting to put some stuff into production, right? So AI agents have been all the rage. However, side note, I still can't get a nicely working travel agent, and we will talk about the reasons why, and we will talk about what's actually a bottleneck into having good working agents in production today. Are any of you specifically building agents wherever you're working, or no? Yes. Okay, cool. What use case, what domain, if you don't mind me asking?
Health.
Health. Okay, health. You're the second person I spoke to today about health. Lots of healthcare startups and places I'm meeting. Who else is just using AI? Do you want to shout out a use case? Like, what industries are you guys coming from? Don't be shy, just shout. What was that?
Accounting.
Oh, okay. Amazing. All right. Anybody else?
Defense.
What was that?
Defense.
Defense. Ooh, okay. Interesting. All right. So I like to ask questions. It's going to be pretty interactive, and I would love if you also ask me any questions or comments, etc., as we went on, just so that the information is extremely relevant to you. So, okay, everyone's talking about agents. We've explored in 2024. Models got better and better at tool calling. I still remember in our Discord server that used to not be so big, and now we've moved on to a developer forum that I'll tell you about. All the models that were coming out, starting with like Llama 3, Llama 3.1, they were all the rage, but what we all started looking at specifically was tool calling and function calling and how good these models actually are at that. And over the past year and a half, you can see that all of these frontier labs, open source model makers have been leaning into agentic use cases, and we've evolved to the point where the one use case that really matters for these models is how good they are at function or tool calling, right? Because as we know, LLMs, they've been trained, they run on static data. If you were to make a call to an LLM today with nothing added to it, you would be getting stale data. But what tool calling enables for us, and we'll talk a little bit about MCP as well if you want to get into the weeds with that, it enables us to bring various APIs, real-time data, web search, etc., connect your own data to these LLMs to make them actually useful instead of just a chatbot with limited information. But then comes the agent orchestration problem, right? Turns out building agents is actually pretty difficult because not only do you have your LLM, you then have to bring in or create and provide your own tools, your own functions. You need to manage the conversation state. You need to route between the different tools or the models you're using if you're doing multi-agent. You need to handle retries. You need to actually coordinate all of this orchestration on the client side, so you're building out everything. And you know, with the introduction of MCP and MCP servers, thankfully that's gotten a little bit easier because now you can just connect to some of these MCP servers out there and you will just get all of the tools in a standard protocol that you can then make a call to. But again, that comes with its own auth problems, which we're now also trying to figure out, right? But the most important thing I want to touch upon is that while you're orchestrating all of this, you're also fighting latency at every step. So latency is just the time it takes in between the calls, right, to accomplish your task. And then while you're fighting latency, and we'll get into why this makes agents extremely unusable, you are also worrying about all of this. So I'm going to show you an easier way to accomplish what you're trying to accomplish if you are building agents, or if you're just looking into use cases that require not just AI, but real-time data. So to get into it, this is a very simplified agent loop. For those of you who aren't familiar, if you're already building agents, you probably have your own workflows. You probably have something very similar to this. I can. I haven't before, but yeah, Peter will help us with that. So this is the usual agent loop. And how it begins is just your user query or your goal, right? Every single time you ask a question, that's inference, and I will get into what inference is and why it's important later. Your input goes into an LLM of your choice. That LLM will then reason or plan, right? How many of you have used coding agents before? Yeah, so goes through, you send it a query, it'll actually hash out a detailed plan that it will then follow, and then it'll decide on an action. So all of what we just talked about with tools and providing web search or code execution, or whether that's an MCP server for GitHub, the LLM will then decide based on your user query, right? Should I use this tool? Will it make my answer better? And then it will loop through until it believes that the goal has been achieved. Now, side note, we all know that LLMs are non-deterministic, so every so often what it believes is it achieving your goal is actually not the goal achieved, in which case you'll have to try again. But all of these steps, right, as is the same with traditional programming or engineering, they're all just functions. So because of this non-determinism that you're adding in with the AI components, you are adding latency or increased time to get to your answer at every single step. Now, I'm sure you're all like me. Every single time I go on a web page, and maybe it's because of my own Wi-Fi, if it doesn't load in 2 seconds, I'm mad. I'm logging out. I'm not going back to that page. I'm thinking it's broken. I think Cloudflare recently just put a lot of things out of service the other day, which was also very frustrating. But if you're building a product, your user's not going to wait for you. And there's so many of us building out agents and building out AI workflows, so they will just skip ahead to a different provider. So this is extremely important. And something I want to touch on, just to bring to your thoughts, is what I'm going to call the capability latency trade-off. So until now, a lot of the agents that people are building, they have also had to leave additional capabilities on the table, because the more functions you add in the back end, right, the more latency you're adding, which means you really need to just simplify your agent, and maybe it's not going to go through detailed planning, detailed reasoning, maybe it's just not going to be able to execute multiple tools in parallel. If I were to ask, what's the weather in Melbourne, and can you run this Python script and let me know if it's going to show any errors? You won't be able to do all of that, right, because of the increased latency. So it's all dependent on your user tolerance, and this is why I keep saying latency like a broken clock, but it is extremely important for what you're going to be building out, for you to research not only various LLMs, because I know we're all playing around with the latest and greatest. I think Gemini 3 was just announced. I didn't get a chance to try it yet, but apparently it's the new soda. Open source Kimi K2 Thinking was announced that hopefully we'll have on Groq soon, and I'll tell you a little bit more about Groq as well. But while you're shopping around for models, you should also be shopping around for inference providers. And what inference is, we can define it as when you ask a question to an LLM, that action, that's inference. So that is AI inference. And you should be looking at inference providers that will be able to give you the performance that you need in a very cost-efficient way. And I think the majority of inference providers right now are running on legacy hardware. So I already said too much about latency, I think, but you can imagine for even your own use cases that high latency just kills and makes these unusable. for all of you using coding agents, including myself and actually entire engineering teams at Groq, we've really gone all in on AI to be more and more productive. How many of you have sat around just waiting for your coding agent to fulfill a task, right? It's kind of annoying. It takes us out of the flow state. Imagine if that were 30, 40x faster, you could iterate faster, and then you could push more PRs and get more done, right? So we have a solve for this. I gave you a problem. I'm presenting a solution, and that is Groq. So we are going to talk about what Groq actually is now. If any of you are familiar with Jonathan Ross, he's our founder. He was actually one of the inventors of the TPU, or Tensor Processing Unit, at Google, and then he left to found his own startup. And he really believed in harmonizing software, hardware, code design, and building from software first principles. And with that, he knew that we needed not legacy hardware, because almost every single provider out there right now is actually, I call them GPU wrappers, which is a little bit mean, but almost every single provider is running models on GPUs mostly, and I think they're getting into TPUs as well a little bit, I think Anthropic and et cetera. But while you're shopping around, it's important to see what is actually being used in the back end for your hardware, for the infrastructure, and make sure that your provider is using hardware that's actually built for AI inference. Because Anthropic, OpenAI, I love them, by the way. I'm not hating, just a comparison. Their API costs are up there, and you're not getting the performance that you could be getting. While you could have a different solution that is less expensive and giving you much more for your dollar. So we have, GPUs aside, we have a whole new chip that we call an LPU, or language processing unit, and we make that available to you, not through hardware sales anymore, although that, I think I was talking to you, that used to be our old business model. As of a year and a half ago, we actually released Groq Cloud and Groq API. How many of you have built with OpenAI's APIs before? Okay, so Groq API is fully OpenAI compatible. So if you have any projects that you're building right now on OpenAI's API, you swap out the base URL, you choose a model ID. We host open source and a couple of closed source models. Maybe in the future we can get Claude or something else on there as well for these frontier labs. And we make them available to you with the Groq API key. So you can just do those 3 little things and switch over to try Groq immediately, just to see the performance and the cost difference. Beyond that, of course, we have our own Python and TypeScript SDKs that you can also look into. So LPU, fast, performant. I'm actually going to demo this to you so we can take a look at console. But beyond that, it's also important while you're building out a product that you want users to actually adopt and you really care about developer experience, you also need to make sure that your provider is building out their infrastructure globally so that they can really give you a consistent experience worldwide. And I'm really excited to say I created this slide a couple of days ago. A lot of us are in town because we just unveiled a brand new shiny data center with Equinix in Sydney, Australia. So we're really excited about that. That just means for you, why should you care? Okay, it's a milestone for us, whoop-de-doo. But for you, that means low latency, right? So even lower latency. And for any of you in healthcare, defense, government, etc., your data is going to be processed within the country. So we are ticking all the boxes for you, not routing you out to some other country and making you break these various data laws, which I'm learning over this past year are very complicated. So I wish you all luck if you're going through any of that compliance stuff. So what we're building today. So we talked a little bit about agents. I gave you a little spiel about what Groq is and our shiny new data center in Sydney. We are going to build out an agent with one API call. So really, build is overkill. You're not going to do much building, and I'll talk about why this is actually really efficient. It's going to take a research question or a code execution question. It'll search the web for the latest information. execute or calculate, reason across multiple sources, and then return a very comprehensive answer for you. And what we call this, I call it an agent. I think this name is not that great. I've already talked to Ben Klieger, who is our lead on compound AI systems, because that doesn't really resonate. We're going to call this an agent. This is basically a system that is built on the open source models that are available. So GPTOSS 120B and 20B, which are insanely good at tool calling. And we have support for various different tools, of course, including the #1 use case, which is web search. And all you have to do is make a call, a Groq API call, and change the model ID to Groq/compound or Groq/compound mini. The difference is compound. We'll be able to do execute multiple tool calls at once, so parallel tool calling, and compound mini can just do one, but it's a little bit less, it's a little cheaper. So I'm going to shine this up here. Our home for today is going to be console.groq.com. For any of you following along on a laptop or a phone, I will leave this up for a couple of seconds. So console.groq.com, that is our platform where you can get access to your API keys, all of the models, our SDKs, our documentation that my team very thoroughly works on. So even if you're in here and you're not that technical, welcome if you're here to learn something new. Our documentation covers a lot of these concepts from a beginner to advanced sort of funnel. So if you are just curious and want to read through, there's a lot that you can learn within those docs. So let's join our 2.5 million developers globally on this platform and take a look at Groq Compound. Any questions so far? I think that was maybe the very straightforward. Or any questions about Groq? Maybe I missed something. We're all good. Nodding, question. Okay, amazing. Okay, yes?
Where's the name come from?
Okay, so Jonathan read a book, I think, something of the galaxy. I need to look this up. I should know this. And Groq just means to understand something with empathy. Guardians of the no, I don't know. Yes, hitchhike. Yes. Okay, thank you. That's where it's from. And then for those of you who are curious, Elon Musk then took the name like a couple of years ago as well, Groq with a K, and I think he said it came from the same place, but I don't know. So this is our platform, Groq console. And here when you log in, it looks big enough on here actually, okay. So when you log in, I'm going to emphasize, because a lot of you are builders in here, we have a very generous free tier. Unlike other providers, you get millions of tokens per day for free, which is honestly enough for you to build out a POC. And then if you ever need to scale, very easy to upgrade to the developer tier with a credit card. And then of course, I have credits to give you today too. The developer tier has increased tokens that you can consume. So I will give you that code at the end of this. So here we are on our console. And I'm just going to go to the playground. The playground, very standard, right? If you've used other inference providers, all of the models are here. We have the latest and greatest. We have part of my job, which I really love, is I get to talk to a lot of you globally and just find out what your needs are, what you're building. Are there other models that we could be hosting? Are there other APIs we could be building out for you? Could we make the platform better? But all of these models are being hosted because we've had demand for them. People have asked for them on X, they've yelled at me or my team on LinkedIn, and now we have them available. And we really try to keep up with the latest and greatest in AI. So anytime there's a new model released, we will take a look at them and see how much the demand is so we can make them available on our platform as well. Or if you're building out fine tunes for your company, we also support LoRa fine tuning on our platform. So you can kind of bring your weights and we can host that for you. So here, that's enough talking. I am going to actually just show you Groq Compound. So here, as you can see, just a model ID switch, we are going to take a look at Groq Compound. And I'm going to ask, does anyone have a query they want me to to add, or I'll just do something that I did the other day. Anyone?
Can you enlarge your text?
Huh? Oh, enlarge it. Yeah. That's good. Yeah. Okay. So I'm just gonna ask, where in the world did Groq launch a data center this week? Okay. So that's my query. I'm now going to submit this. And you can see immediately, as I'm talking, Groq Compound is, it is executing these tools that we just talked about. So because I asked data center this week, it knew that it had to do a web search because it knows it's an LLM and it has stale data. And then this is actually taking, let me see. I don't know if it's network latency, but it takes usually faster. It's usually faster than that. But in that time that I was talking, it executed a few tools, right? It actually went through that reasoning step that we talked about, and you can see the hundreds of tokens that it just spit out here. And then it went online and went through all of these different resources or sources. It cited those sources, and then it gave us our final answer of Groq launched in Sydney this week, which is amazing. So if I were to run this, good. The actual inference time is 1.83 seconds, so not accounting for any of the other network latency, etc. And I don't think I am running this in the Sydney data center because I'm on my personal. So here, as you can see, we've processed 10,000 tokens per second. For reference, a novel on average is around 80,000 tokens. So we did that all in a few seconds, web search enabled, etc. And you didn't have to orchestrate anything. So let's talk about that a little bit. We mentioned that agents, usually you're building out client side, so you need to worry about handling everything. What we did, Ben on our team, who's the lead for this, he realized that people just want simple and they want trusted. And what he did is he built this out. There are dozens of web search API providers. There are dozens of sandbox API providers, code execution, etc. So what we've done is on our side, we've done all the research. We've gone through all the partnerships with them, all of these vendors. We actually realized that all of those benchmarks and evals that are out there on the internet, they're actually not good enough for real-time agents and measuring performance. So we built and open sourced our own eval to measure these things. And we decided to make these tools available to you built-in or server-side, which means that you get even lower latency than if you were to build this out yourself and just connect to Exa or Brave or whatever other Firecrawl web search, for example. So you get all of this in just an API call, and you leave the hard work to us where we're measuring this out every single week, benchmarking, looking for the best providers, making sure that the latency is low and that it's cost effective. So this is, again, just pennies on the dollar per million of tokens. But I'm not a salesperson, so I'm really not going to talk about any of that. So with that, we can go in and... Okay, these are not ours. Oh, I was like, why is it showing literally everything? It's because I'm not in slideshow mode. Okay, great. So actually, we're going to now, because this is a little bit more practical and hands-on, you can take a look and actually create your free API key right here above in API keys. And just to show you, you can check out your rate limits here in our docs page. But as you can see, you get hundreds and thousands of tokens for each of the models that we have hosted. And it's not just text. We have text-to-speech and speech-to-text for those of you building out voice agents, perhaps. So you can build out POCs with this. Really excited that we have this. And then that's my Slack. Where's my IDE? Let me find that. So I think it's this one. Let's bring that here. Okay. So what we are going to look at, great, is this. And I'll give you these resources or these slides, but we're going to look at a voice agent. So we saw what Groq Compound can do on its own with just an API call, but we're going to look at actually how you can integrate this into a voice agent. And here we have a GitHub repository that my team just recently launched. I have yet to make a video for social media to actually walk people through it, but Build with Groq is our new GitHub org where we have dozens of what we're calling templates available to you. So for any of the builders out there, we take the top common use cases, like whether that's RAG or again, like voice agents or whatever else, and there's plenty in here that my team has built out and curated. And you can actually just fork these repos. They're all under an MIT license. You can do with them whatever you want. As long as you're building, I don't care if it's like for your company, enterprise, etc. They're all workflows that are tested and true that you can learn from and you can use while you're trying to build for your specific use case. We will have many more of these templates down the road, so any feedback is welcome from any of you. So this is Compound Voice. This is what I want to demo to you today. If you're following along, you can go to github.com/build-with-Groq. I should have made a QR code for this. And then you can search up Compound Voice. Build-with-Groq or hyphen, I guess. Wait, I'll just make this. Oh, obviously it doesn't make the little that bigger. Okay. github.com/build-with-Groq. And then /compound-voice, or you can look that up. So what this is this is a voice agent, and I'll talk a little bit about this too if you're going to be building. Groq has text-to-speech, Groq has speech-to-text, Groq has text models. However, we don't have a solution, an end-to-end like voice API or real-time voice. I think OpenAI has something similar just yet. I'm really pushing on this because of the demand and people are orchestrating their own voice agents. I think that it would be very beneficial for us to just have an end-to-end speech endpoint that you can just call and we do everything for you. But what this uses, and I'll recommend this if you're looking into voice agents, PipeCat. They are an open source framework. They also have enterprise components, but they deal with everything from voice activity detection to silence detection, all WebRTC, etc. All those other components that you actually need to stitch together the models and create a voice agent. So there's PipeCat and there's also LiveKit. I think this one uses LiveKit. So we'll take a look at this. I think that I should have looked at this because I got an error yesterday that I didn't look at, but let me see. Any questions so far?
Could you zoom in a bit?
Huh?
Could you zoom in a bit?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, so what this does, so this is the Compound Voice Agent. I'm going to see if I can get this where I ran into a weird error yesterday and it wouldn't do the text-to-speech part with 11 labs, although it did everything else. I'll just open up the agent file so we can take a look. Where is that? That should be in Okay. So here you can see that we have an end-to-end agent with a UI, and it is using Groq Compound as the brain. So that's the LLM component of it, so that your voice agent has access to web search and code execution. And then we're using also Groq for transcription with, if you're familiar with the Whisper model from OpenAI that was released a few years ago, we have that on Groq, and the transcription is instant. And then we also have 11 labs for text-to-speech, but we also have our own text-to-speech model. I think we're going to have a better one, which is why we didn't use that one for this. This just sounds more human-like. But we are looking into like Orpheus and other models that are out there right now. So here, if you're following along with me, I'm just going to go into running this in dev. I have everything already active. So this is actually running the backends The README details everything. We have a very detailed README template that we all use and that you can take a look at, and it'll show you where you can actually go into within the file directory to customize everything to your liking if you want to, or you can just scrape out the back end and try to integrate that into whatever you're already building. But here I'll run this, and then I need a new terminal to run the front end. So this one is pm dev. Or, cd compound voice. Yeah. C source agent. Oh, what am I doing? Okay, cd agent. Okay, this is the setup that I should have done beforehand so that we're not all awkwardly staring, but hopefully you're just looking at your own screens. And, okay. Why is this not working? Okay, great. What's running? Let's look at this. Okay, great. Although I do think that I am going to get an error here, but I'm going to start talking to this guy. Hello, can you hear me? Where's my... Yeah, okay, 8 can hear me, but 11 Labs is not giving me an answer. And I think if I was looking at this yesterday, it was... I have a PipeCat one too that we can take a look at. Maybe this one. Same thing, different provider. Okay, let's look at this one. So the other one was, okay. Real-time demoing doesn't work out. Why did that not work? Oh, okay, that's fine. I was gonna say this is PipeCat and the other one's LiveKit, but I can either live debug, or I'm pretty sure if you can get it working on your end. I think that I just have a .env. Maybe I think I did something wrong here. Let me look at the README. Okay, if I can get this working, then we will actually, yeah, maybe that's the problem. Connecting to agent. Hello, are you going to work? You're not going to work. Okay. I'll try to figure this out as we maybe have a little networking time later, because the backend's running. But it's giving me a warning. Yeah. Okay. If you want, yeah, it's listening to me, as you can see here, but it's not giving me any output back, which is kind of annoying. So I will go to actually our playground, and I will show you what the components look like by themselves, just to demonstrate the speed. So let's go to our Play AI model here. So this is one of our text-to-speech models, and we have an Arabic version, and then depending on demands, we will also be looking at providing support for various models with different languages. So here I will say, hello, Melbourne, Groq is so excited to be. And then we have various parameters that you can play with. And oh, Adelaide, isn't that an Australian city? Yeah, okay, beautiful. So I'll select that one. Okay, so that was instant, right? So you can see that it just generated a speech file for me. And
hello, Melbourne, Groq is so excited to be here.
Amazing. So again, very low latency. So you can imagine if I can get that agent to work, it's actually an instant streaming real-time conversation that I can have with it. that is pretty realistic, depending on the voice. This didn't really sound too human-like, but this one's a little bit dated, so we'll get back to that. Any questions on compounds, client-side orchestration versus server-side and built-in tooling? Is anyone excited about these capabilities? Amazing, a few. Okay, great. Do we want to get into model context protocol and MCP servers? Is anyone actually like experimenting with these? Have you just heard? Okay, beautiful. Anything specific?
It's mostly like internal tooling within the company, actually.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Like, does your company have its own MCP server that you guys built out so it could connect to things?
Oh yeah,
Or is
but
it-
like again, it's for internal team cooperation rather than like a public-facing thing. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so do we all know what MCP is? This crowd should know. Okay, great. So why I mentioned this, if you also build with OpenAI, you'll know that they have the chat completions API, but now they are heavily pushing for users to use the responses API, which is better suited for, better suited for the direction that we're going in and agentic workflows. It's a stateful API in comparison to chat completions, and we've actually built out responses API support on Groq as well. So with responses API, you are also able to plug in MCP servers, and you can check that out. We have a bunch of tutorials for Hugging Face, Tivoli, Firecrawl. I think almost all of these are web search APIs. So just going back to the fact that, again, there's so many out there, and Groq Compound constantly just evals against which ones are the best to provide to you so that we can take that cognitive load away from you and onto us, and all you need to do is an API call. So I don't think I need to get into what MCP really is here, but as you can see here, this is how you can enable, because we're OpenAI compatible, you can use a responses API, you can plug in any remote MCP server. So whatever provider you're looking at, they need to have a hosted or remote MCP server that you can access with a link, not locally hosted, and then you can plug that in and be able to use it and make a call. And then, of course, do any of you build with any frameworks? I know LangChain is super popular, but I like to ask this everywhere. Like, are you building? So you guys use LangChain. So you use LangChain, you use LangChain.
Google ADK.
What was it?
Google ADK.
Google ADK. Oh, okay, interesting. You're like the first person I've heard using that, actually. Anybody else?
N8.
What is that?
N8.
N10?
N8.
N8. Okay, N8. Yeah, N8. Okay.
We've used strands from AWS
Okay, AWS is speaking.
to get
Okay. Crew AI. Okay, you use Crew AI. Okay.
together. Yeah.
Together. Oh, Together AI for. Well, now that you know about Groq, we're a little bit of a competitor, but they're a GPU all love if this is being recorded. They also use GPUs, just so you're aware. Anybody else? No. Okay, interesting. I'm always just curious because for LangChain Groq, we have a billion, or no, not a billion, like, I don't know, something in the millions downloads, and I'm always just curious, like, who are these people and who's using it, because we want to know if we should provide more support and really keep that integration updated with the team. But I think that is all I have for us. So these are some really good resources. You guys all are a little bit more advanced, so maybe it'll be good for you, maybe not. Groq API Cookbook is a little bit more elementary. We just have very simple tutorials like what's MCP, RAG, AI agents, how do I build this, how do I do this, etc. using the Groq API. But then build with Groq, those are the templates that we will be adding onto. So those are actual end-to-end applications and workflows that you can learn from, copy, customize. Documentation's your best friend. Community.groq.com. We've graduated from Discord to a public developer forum for SEO purposes, but also because Discord, everything gets lost and then people keep asking the same questions. So you can join community.groq.com. We support single sign-on. So now that you have a Groq console account, you can just sign in. If you have any questions, my team is on there 24/7. we live and breathe internet. We're always connected, so give us a shout on there. And then, of course, I need to give myself a shout out here. If you want to connect with me personally, I'm very active on X. I constantly record videos for latest features, stuff like that, being DevRel, which I really enjoy. So you can either follow me on X, my handle's there, or Groq Inc. handle, so Groq INC. And then you can also add me on LinkedIn. I'm giving you my personal contact because I want to meet more of you, and if any of you are at companies where you have an open source component, I really like to find partners to work on technical content with. There's just a lot of synergy there. Like if your company has a framework or if you have a component that's open source, you can use Groq API as the inference provider. We can, do videos together, podcasts. We have webinars that we do, bounties, hackathons that we want to do more of here in Australia. So please connect with me if you know anybody or if you are someone who works with open source. And these are a couple of demos that people have built at hackathons actually that I can show you. This is a multi-agent workflow. I thought this was really cool. We just supported a cursor hackathon in Singapore, and I was very impressed with the talent over there. These are agents, so if you've ever played like Sims or anything similar, they've created AI agents, and it's kind of Inception. This is the hackathon, so they've created a hackathon at the hackathon, and this is their teams and other teams like actually building out projects. And I think you can see they're just messaging with each other. I don't know whose API key this is, but I keep going in and stopping it, and somebody else plays it. Like it's running, so I don't know if they're just on the free tier. But again, we're like pennies on the dollar, so it's probably not even that much of a cost to constantly run this. They're all working together. Observability, you can go in and actually see. These are all paused. So Justice League is a hackathon. Let's see, they have a project idea. They're working on something called Crisis Map, a high fidelity prototype for community safety. They have their to-dos. You can view the artifacts, their messages, the actual orchestration, and then their chat. Oh, I think visitors. So I think I asked them this in October. How are you guys doing? And they gave me an answer. I just thought this, I don't know. I've been to many hackathons and we've supported so many. This is the coolest thing I've seen yet. So if you build anything cool, also let me know, because this just blows my mind every time I show it. I'm going to stop it though so that we don't waste tokens. There we go. Okay, amazing. That's all I have. So thank you so much for coming. It's really nice to meet you guys. Hopefully we can do much more. Shout out to Peter also and Data Eng Bytes. We're here with them and everything has been amazing so far. And we would love to do more meetups. If you're into that, tell a friend, reach out to me, let's connect. I would love to meet more of the Australian developer community. I actually don't want to go back to the States because, yeah.
We can organize that.
Yeah. Thank you so much.